to Sacrilegious Sunday. Today I want to talk about discovering my atheism. I really didn't grow up in a religious house. I think for part of my childhood, my dad was a Buddhist, and at some point my mother became a Quaker. The most religious influence we had in our house when I was growing up was when my sister turned about, 1 or 2, and my parents decided to have her baptized, and figured as long as they were baptizing her, they should baptize me as well, which was kind of my first clue that this was all kind of bullshit. I was 7 when I got baptized, and to get baptized at this one church, we went to a Pilgrim Church. I don't even know what denomination it is. We had to attend church services for a year. And so we did. My buy-in to church services was going out for dim sum afterwards. And I remember just not being into it. It just didn't resonate with me, and it was all boring and meant I couldn't sleep in. And the whole reason we were there was for this baptism thing, which happened and nothing felt different. And again, the only reason I was getting baptized was because my sister was getting baptized, and if it had really mattered, they would have done it when I was younger. During this year, my dad took to reading this children's Bible that he got. And I remember it had a picture of Jesus sitting on a stone wall, I think, with a bunch of kids and some sheep. Which is a fitting image, I suppose. And there was one story, I don't remember, the only story that I remember from the whole thing, and this was really the moment that I decided that I did not dig Christianity, specifically did not dig Christ, there was a story about when he was a kid and Joseph was looking for him, and I don't know if this is in real Bibles or just the children's Bible, and I don't know. I am completely clueless on that. But Joseph was looking for Jesus and couldn't find him anywhere, and was looking high and low, finally found him in a church. Or I guess it would have been a synagogue because they were Jewish. And when Joseph said, "I've been looking for you," Jesus' response was, "Well, of course I'm in my Father's house." And that struck me wrong. Because being an adopted child, it doesn't really matter where the biology came from. Your dad is the person who is raising you. Your father is the person that puts the roof over your head and the food in your mouth, and that's your real dad. It doesn't matter where the biology came from. And so as an adopted kid, I kind of took offense to that. Probably has no theological resonance with anybody else. Probably total, a really poor reason to decide that Christianity is not for you. But that was my first big schism with it. And then growing up, there was just so much stuff that just didn't make sense and didn't fit with how I understood the world to work based on the science classes I had and the books I read and the things I learned about on my own. And it all just felt like more and more nonsense. About the time that I was feeling that way about it, my mother was getting very into the whole Quaker thing, and there was this rift between her and I, and one of the things we rifted over was faith. And she was of the opinion that I needed to believe in something. And all through high school, all through college, I described myself as non-religious. I knew I didn't buy into any of the major religions, but I didn't know what I was. And at that point, atheism was really was a bad word. It was up there with anarchist. Like, if you were this evil person, you were atheist or you were an anarchist or both. And so I that's not a word that I would have thought of to describe myself because I was a good person. I didn't lie a whole lot. I mean, maybe to my parents a little bit, but what teenager doesn't? I didn't steal. I didn't hurt anybody on purpose. And so I wouldn't have come up with atheism or atheist as the word to describe myself. I used non-religious. Didn't buy into any of it. And that bothered my mother in the worst way, because I had to believe in something. So, I don't know, partway through college, I started looking into things because I kind of missed the rituals, the traditions in my life. Because I wasn't doing anything for Christmas. I really didn't do anything for Easter. I wasn't living in my parents' house at the time. So I was missing tradition. And I stumbled into Celtic paganism. And I really, like the worship of nature, that felt right to me. The celebrations seemed like a lot of fun. The fact that they were based on actual events, like the changing of the season, which we can predict because we know the movements of the heavenly bodies. That made sense to me. Celebrating that the days were going to start to get longer worked for me. Celebrating the balance of dark and light, that made sense to me. So I got into paganism in pretty much name only, for the tradition, for the food, and the alcohol a little bit. And I remember telling my mother that, when we got into this discussion again about how I need to believe in something, I said, I do believe in something. I'm pagan. That's my belief. And she goes, well, that's not what you're supposed to believe in. And I just gave up. I was like, well, that's what I believe in. And, shortly thereafter, there was a huge rift and we didn't speak for several years. As I got older and did more research, I never really believed in any of the pagan gods and goddesses. That part never fit for me. I was in it for the traditions. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized that atheism really described what I believed or didn't believe, as the case was, because I didn't believe in a supernatural being. I didn't believe in this supernatural influence in our lives. I don't believe that there's the invisible sky daddy who is all powerful and can decide to fuck over one person and help another. And if there is such a guy, he's not worth my time. So I really think from day one, I was an atheist, just like all babies are, and never really got indoctrinated into religion, which was nice. And so that's how I'm raising my kids. Not with any religion. If they choose one, that's fine. My big sweetie is of the opinion that she's Buddhist. She has done a little bit of research into it. Doesn't really practice it per se, but she likes the ideas behind it. So as she explores it, she's more than welcome to follow that path or whatever other path suits her. And little sweetie is just, well, little sweetie, and she'll figure it out eventually. So that's it for my discovering my atheism. Thank you for joining me, and join me tomorrow for Mom Monday. Bye.